This is the first time in your life, my dear children, you have been locked in your room for so many days. The hope is that perhaps we are coming to an end. Whether it ends or not, we have to keep on doing our studies. So today's lesson for standard 9, we are continuing with the same chapter, motions of the earth, and today particularly we'll be discussing about the two seasons, summer and winter. And to do that, we will concentrate on these 5 questions. What causes the seasons? The diagram of the changing seasons. Some important dates to remember. They are of the dates of winter, dates of summer, dates of autumn and spring. There is summer solstice, facts, features and diagram in details, and winter solstice, facts, diagram and features in details. So we have said today we will be discussing about the seasons, geographical seasons. In geography, there are, again I remind you, there are only 4 seasons: summer, winter, autumn and spring. Rainy season is not part of geographical discussion. So what causes the seasons? To do that, let us know this diagram. See this diagram. This is the sun and this is earth. Obviously only one earth. There are not 4 different earths, but they are shown in different places throughout the year. So this side we have got the June. That means during the June you have summer. Then after June, this is March. We get after June we get September, that is autumn. Then again it comes December, winter, and March, spring. So this is the revolution of the earth. But remember children, the axis, can you see the axis in all the 4 places? The axes are always tilted, inclined with the same 23.5 degree with the perpendicular of the earth. Okay, so 23.5 degrees. So that inclination is always, the tilt is always the same, in the same direction. That's very important. And another reason is that the earth is revolving, going around the sun. So these 2 reasons together, that means the earth's tilt, as well as the revolution of the earth around the sun together causes the seasons. Throughout the year, different parts of the earth receive the sun's direct rays in different time because of also again the tilt, the position of this earth at different places on its own orbit. So when the North Pole tilts towards the sun, it is summer in the northern hemisphere, and when the South Pole tilts towards the sun, it is winter in the northern hemisphere. Check this. This is the earth in summer position. See the tilt? So northern hemisphere is towards the sun, tilting. So in the northern hemisphere, the entire northern hemisphere will have the summer, whereas the southern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. So therefore, see the major part of the southern hemisphere is having the winter. And it happens if this side, vice versa. One thing also remember, the diagram of summer will be always opposite to diagram of winter. The diagram of spring and the diagram of autumn will be similar and different at the same time. Similar because all the time during the spring the sun will be overhead on the equator, During the autumn also the sun will be overhead on the equator. But what is the difference? Time. It is March, which comes after winter. It is autumn, which comes after the summer. Let us continue the discussion. So it is depending on the verticality of the sun over three main latitudes. One is the Tropic of Cancer, the equator, and the Tropic of Capricorn. When the sun is vertical over Tropic of Cancer, the northern hemisphere gets summer season and southern hemisphere gets winter season, always opposite. And when the sun is vertical over Tropic of Capricorn, then the southern hemisphere gets summer and northern hemisphere gets winter. And interestingly, when the sun is overhead over equator, that happens twice in a year, during the spring as well as during the autumn. When the sun is overhead or vertical directly over the equator, then throughout the earth, throughout the world, we will get 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night. Now let's see some important dates that you need, or all of us we need to remember. This is all from the northern hemisphere's point of view. These dates will be just the opposite or changed if you take from the southern hemisphere's point of view. June 21st is the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, when we have got the longer days and shorter nights. In fact, on June 21st, we are supposed to have the longest day and the shortest night geographically. How it exactly happens, when we discuss about summer solstice and its features and characteristics, we'll discuss how the duration of the day and night it actually occurs. September 23rd, it is the autumnal, or we call the autumn season, where throughout the earth days and nights are equal. December 22nd, it's a winter solstice, again in the northern hemisphere. That day will have the longer nights and shorter days. It is in winter. However, on 22nd of December, we'll have the longest nights and the shortest day. Longest night and shortest day. Can you see? It is just the opposite. It is a summer. In summer we have got longest days, and in winter we have got the longest nights. And again we have got the spring on 21st. It is also known as vernal. Why it is called vernal, we'll explain when it comes in the season. On this day we have got equal days and equal nights. So from this chart of the important dates, remember, you have to remember there are two dates during the year, 21st of March and 23rd of September. You have the equinoxes, equal days and nights throughout the earth. So now we are going to discuss in detail about the summer solstice. It happens on 21st of June in the northern hemisphere. How it happens, why it happens, if it happens, what happens. So this is the earth. Of course, this is also the earth. Now take this diagram. This is the sun. The sun's rays are falling on the earth from this side. And this is, if you remember the previous lessons, this is called circle of illumination, which makes the earth into two equal halves, the lighted part called days and the dark part called night. But see, the axis is coming through the center of the earth, which is different. And this is the time during the month of June the earth is inclined towards the sun. So the entire northern hemisphere gets a good amount of earth's the sun's rays, and that's why the earth gets summer season in the northern hemisphere. This time the sun is vertical over these regions, mainly on the northern hemisphere, and sun is directly vertical over the tropic of Cancer. Can you see this part? Can you see this part? Or even here also, can you see this part? The earth is rotating on its axis. Okay, this is what is rotating, but the illumination is dividing the earth, the day part and the night part. Just notice this part. Even it how much it rotates the 24 hours, this part never gets the dark or night part, and that is why on 21st of June on the northern hemisphere, especially in the North Pole, you will have 24 hours of day. Why? Because see the diagram, earth is rotating on its axis, and it goes on rotating, but it never sees the darker part. So that's why it is always 24 hours night in the northern hemisphere. Now these are the features of the summer solstice or the summer season in the northern hemisphere. Solstice, the word solstice comes from a Latin etymology called sol, meaning the sun, and sistere, meaning to come to a stop or stand still. On the day the sun reaches its northernmost position, that is the summer solstice, because the sun travels from Tropic of Capricorn to Tropic of Cancer, and again it goes back from Tropic of Cancer to Tropic of Capricorn. The sun apparent movement never goes beyond the tropics. It's limited between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, and that's why it passes through the equator twice a year. The summer solstice happens around on 21st June. Why I say around? Because sometime it happens on 20th of June, some year it happens on 21st of June, sometime it happens on, or some year it happens on 22nd of June. That's why I say it is around 21st of June. This year 2020, we had the summer solstice. We will have the summer solstice on June 21st. But however, for the examinations point of view, you are supposed to remember that June solstice or summer solstice on 21st of June in the northern hemisphere. What happens this time? The sun is directly vertical or over it over the Tropic of Cancer. On June 21st, the northern hemisphere experiences the longest day of the year in terms of daylight. Around this time, the northern hemisphere days are longer and the nights are shorter. On 21st, longest day. But in the whole of summer solstice, is not just one day. It is of 2 months. So in these 2 months, the days are comparatively, compared to the winter days, are longer and the nights are shorter. The Arctic Circle has 24 hours of daylight. Just now I have explained the North Pole will have 24 hours of daylight, means actually the region which is beyond Arctic Circle. The duration of the daylight goes on increasing from 12 hours at the equator to 24 hours at the North Pole, because this is the equator, the earth is divided into 12 hours, and the time, you see, this is the earth axis, but this is the light of illumination. So as one goes from the equator towards the poles, then you can see the difference, the distance from here to here. It is longer than from here to here. Or you can say this is the Tropic of Cancer. You see, Tropic of Cancer, the dark part is so small, whereas the bright part or the day part is longer. That's what we say. If you go away from the equator, the time of the day duration increases during the summer. It will be opposite during the winter. Means the time of night will be increased in the winter time. Since the southern hemisphere is away from the sun due to the inclination of the earth's axis, the southern hemisphere will face just the opposite winter solstice, and their south pole will never get the sunlight. Again you can see the diagram. The south pole will never see the sunlight. You see, this part is fully dark part. This is the line of illumination. This is the fully dark part, and that is why the southern hemisphere will never get the sunlight. And as we get this time in the month of June or 21st of June, the summer solstice, if the northern hemisphere, the north pole, the region beyond Arctic Circle have the 24 hours of day, the same day opposite things will happen in the southern hemisphere. The south pole will have 24 hours of night. Now let us discuss about the winter solstice. You see, the sun is now vertical, rather shining from this side, opposite side, obviously, because the earth has got to the other side of the orbit. Now whatever I have told you regarding the summer solstice, it happens just the opposite. First of all, the sun is directly vertical over the Tropic of Capricorn, and therefore southern hemisphere is closer to the sun. You can see southern hemisphere is closer to the sun, and northern hemisphere is away from the sun. And southern hemisphere, the region beyond the Antarctic Circle called South Pole region, will never get night. So this part will have 24 hours of day, vice versa. This part, the North Pole, which had 24 hours of day during the summer season, during the winter season they will have 24 hours of night. See the diagram. This is the clue that you have to get. This is the inclination of axis, the axis, but this is the circle of illumination, so which divides the earth into day and night. So because of these two reasons, we have the North Pole during the winter will have 24 hours of night, whereas southern hemisphere will have 24 hours of day. Now what are the features of the winter? Let's highlight what are the features of the winter solstice. First of all, it happens on 22nd of December. I remind you once again from northern hemisphere point of view. The northern hemisphere experiences the winter while the southern hemisphere experiences summer. This happens always as the opposite. The North Pole is tilted away from the sun, so there is 24 hours of night, vice versa. Since the South Pole is tilted towards the sun, there will be 24 hours of day. The sun is overhead on the Tropic of Capricorn. The days are shorter and the nights are longer in the northern hemisphere. Opposite, the days are longer and nights are shorter in the southern hemisphere. And remember, on 22nd of December in the northern hemisphere, the nights are the longest night and the shortest day of the year. Vice versa, on 22nd of December in the southern hemisphere will have the longest day and the shortest night of the year. With this, we come to the end of today's lesson, dear children. We'll continue this chapter in the next session. Till then, stay well, study well, and make yourself as well as everyone happy.